What's up, guys? Twice here with another online deck profile. This one for Great Nature, the new stuff that came out in G Booster 2 Soaring, Ascent of Gale and Blossom. It's really cool. It looks, I've never actually played Great Nature extensively before. This was my first crack at making a deck, and I gotta say that I'm liking the results. But before I jump into this deck profile, I have to give a huge shout out to Min from Vanguard Heroes. I'll put a link to his video in the description below, where he really goes in depth with the deck and explains how everything works and shows it in a fight and whatnot. So I'm going to take that idea and run with it and just say that this is his deck. I want to show it to you guys and that it's a great stride deck. I think it runs really efficiently, and I want to thank him for kind of making me interested in the clan and showing me how fun it really was. Not to mention, I feel like Great Nature does have a lot of similarities to Nova Grappler now, and knowing me, that of course piques my interest. So we're going to just jump right into it. We have Pencil Koala for our starter, Gen Break 1. When an attack hits during the battle that this unit boosted, choose another of your rear guards. You may have that unit get plus 4k until the end of the turn, and at the end of the turn you draw a card and retire that unit. So this is of course something that Great Nature has become very good at doing nowadays, is not only just boosting up their units and then retiring them, but of course drawing or unflipping damage or getting some kind of utility out of it. Because the essential idea now is to net zero. You don't want to minus yourself in rear guards just to give them power. That's gonna, decrease your advantage over time. So now you can keep both your advantage and get power, and now with Managarmr limit your opponent's guarding ability. So what I'm going to say is that while this card is good on the Vanguard or behind the Vanguard, he can really work behind rear guards or vanguards. It doesn't really matter. It depends on how you set up your field, but still an excellent starter. Now we do run 12 crit in this deck because it's a pressure deck. You want power, you want crits, you want to be able to kill your opponent fast, especially now that you have the ability to limit how your opponent guards. Criticals are extremely important. I like these ruler chameleons because they're able to get copies of themselves out of the deck. While I'm not the biggest fan of taking triggers out of a deck, I am happy that this card, again, lets you net zero instead of just minusing yourself, and that's really important. And then, of course, these cute little broadcast rabbits for your heals, because why not? Then for grade 1s, of course, your 4 Shellmaster. He's the new perfect guard for the Generation series, of that he unflips damage. That's really important in this deck because while it is able to unflip damage by itself, having something else that can both be the perfect guard and unflip damage is a nice 2-in-1 job, and Shellmaster accomplishes it. Not to mention, he's the first Sentinel that Great Nature has gotten since Cable Sheep. Cable Sheep came out in set 7, so they kind of deserved to get something like this. Then we come over here, and I run 3 Single-Minded Assistant Mini Berry. He's the one that lets you search for Big Berry or Big Belly. Actually, either one of those would work linguistically. But he's also the Stride Enabler, so I usually run 4 of these. And I'll say now that I was actually considering bumping it up to 4, but I haven't found myself needing, that 4th one of them all that often. So 3 works fine for right now. And sometimes you actually don't want Big Berry on Vanguard, so you might not always want to use this card for its ability. And then I have 3 label Pangolin. I think that's how you say that. It looks like an armadillo to me, so I don't know why it's called a pangolin, unless that's like the scientific name or something like that. Either way, it's a Gen Break 1. During your main phase, when he's placed in the rear guard circle, you choose another one of your rear guards, and he gets the ability of, at the end of the battle, that this unit attacked a Vanguard. If its power is 20,000 or more, you're going to soul charge and unflip it damage. So it's a good utility card. You definitely want to make sure that you're setting up which units are going to get what abilities, because that can be pretty important in this deck, especially when we get to the grade 2s. But again, the 3 of them has worked pretty well, and he's a 7k booster, so he's useful even after you use his ability. And then, I don't know why it's called Loop-de-Loop Duckbill. It's actually Coiling Duckbill. During your main phase, when he's placed in the rear guard circle, you choose another one of your rear guards, and he gets the ability of that during the end phase, when it's placed in the drop zone, you draw a card. Now this is kind of important, because placed in the drop zone is specific rather than just retiring. So if there's something that your opponent has, or an ability, or whatever that's not yours that puts it into the drop zone, you're still going to be able to get that plus. And that's very important in this deck. Coiling Duckbill is the card that ensures that you're never going to minus yourself. and that's extremely important in this deck because you're constantly retiring your own rearguards. You need to be able to have draw power in order to keep yourself, consistent and keep your advantage up. So you absolutely need to have 4 coiling Duckbill. Then we come to the grade 2s. 4 capable assistant Guru Wolf. I do run Guru Tiger, so it's fine to run 4 of these, but he is a good card on his own. When his attack hits a Vanguard, if his power is 20,000 or more, you're going to draw a card. Completely free, just an on-hit skill. Cool thing is that if you combo this with Managarmr, where it's easier to hit your opponent because you limit their guard, that means that not only is your opponent, having more pressure put on them, but you're actually going to be able to more consistently draw cards for free with this card without having to retire any of your units. That's why Guru Wolf is so good. And what's cool is that because he's a 9k, if you put a 7k booster behind him, that's a 16k column. All you have to do to get him to that 20k mark is give him 4,000 power, with any one of the number of abilities that all these cards have to do so. So Guru Wolf is an excellent card in this deck for many different reasons. Then 4 Crayon Tiger. Love this card. He came out in the new G booster, and he really is he's an MVP for this deck. You absolutely need him for your strong plays. Gem Break 1 once per turn, Counterblast 1, when he's attacking a Vanguard and boost, you may pay the cost. You do choose one of your other rear guards, you stand it, then it gets plus 4k until the end of the turn, and at the end of the turn, you draw a card and then retire that unit. So a couple different things going on here. One, he stands your card. So this is where I was actually debating whether or not I wanted to put stand triggers in this deck, but you kind of don't need them if you have this card on rearguard enough, because he'll do that job. For one counterblast, you're going to get off another attack with a unit that has more power, and he is not going to neg you because you're going to draw a card when that card is retired. So definitely an extremely useful card for just one counterblast. He's absolutely something that you always want to have in the front row because he's just so good for so little of a cost. And then finally, you come down here and we run 3 Sleepeater up here. Like Min said, there's a couple different things you could run for grade 2s, and I agree with him when he says that this is probably the best thing to run. It's Binoculus Tiger with the resist skill. That's awesome. When this unit attacks Vanguard, you choose another one of your rear guards, give it plus 4k, and then retire it at the end of the turn. So of course he just lets you boost your rear guards even more for virtually no cost. And because he has that resist ability, that means that lock, retiring, binding, all kinds of things are not going to affect him. Even bouncing, which is very important. So I absolutely really like to have Sleepeater up here because he's a very reliable card. Then moving on to the grade 3s. 4 Big Berry or Big Belly, it could be either one with Japanese. So Gen Break 2, and he also has the on-stride skill. But a Gen Break 2 is that when this unit attacks Vanguard, choose one of your rear guards. To the end of that turn, it gets plus 4k, and at the end of that turn, draw a card and retire that unit. So again, he just keeps you consistent, doesn't neg you, he lets you draw more cards, and that's extremely important. But because it's a Gen Break 2, that means you can use this later in the game, and if you're able to combo and get more power to different units, it can really help you hit some higher tier of numbers. The thing is that he only lets you do that to 1 rear guard, which to me is a little underpowered. I kind of wish it was to 2 because that would, make him a little more threatening. But either way, it's still a really good skill. But his on-stride skill is what's really important. Counterblast 1 during your turn. When your G unit strides, you may pay the cost if you do. Choose up to 2 of your rear guards this time. Until the end of the turn, they get plus 4k. And when a unit's attack in the same column as this unit hits a Vanguard, if the attacking unit's power is 20,000 or more, you draw a card. This is very important because you can give plus 4k to the unit in the back row, and the skill will still work because it's as long as the attack hits with the card in the same column. So this is kind of where I actually like Big Berry, in that one of the things I didn't like about Great Nature at first was that it relied on having a previous condition of rear guards. You needed rear guards to begin with in order to get off a lot of the abilities. But with this card, at least it makes up for that, in that it doesn't matter which unit has the ability so long as the attack hits. And the power can go to the back row or the front row unit. So Big Berry is a very not only utilitarian card, but he has great power as well. And he draws on his stomach, which is kind of cute. We have 4 Hot-Blooded Professor Guru Tiger, the new Legion that Great Nature got. There's actually a really cool deck where you can run both Legions. They're actually both great in their own right and involve skills that involve discarding or using cards that are on your Vanguard circle. But I like the Big Berry Guru Tiger combo. So of course he's 20k with Guru Wolf, which is great because I run 4 of him anyway. Choose a card with the same name as a unit on your Vanguard circle and discard it. If he's in Legion, you choose up to 2 of your rear guards until the end of that turn. They get the ability of that during your end phase, when they're put into the drop zone, you call them back to the rear guard, draw a card, and then unflip it damage. How amazing is this? He is the ultimate utility card for this deck, and that's why he makes a great boss card. Of that, while he might not be giving power to them with his Legion skill, he's still able to give you pluses, and that's very important later in the game especially, so you have the guard necessary to put up with your opponent next turn when they're using their big plays. Next, we have the ability of that when this unit attacks a Vanguard, you can choose up to 1 of your rear guards, and that unit gets plus 4k until the end of the turn, and then you retire it at the end of the turn. So he can still give your units power for free, you're just going to be retiring them. But of course, his own Legion skill lets you prevent that and even benefit from getting that power and then retiring that unit. So Guru Tiger is an excellent card and a great combination and other option than Big Berry. And finally, we move on to the G units. We start off with Eternity Professor Finishalux. Looks amazing. I mean, I love the artwork of a lot of these great nature cards because they take the animals and they add like an anthropomorphic theme to them, but they also just make them adorable, which is awesome. So anyway, yes, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, choose up to 2 of your rear guards, and those units get plus 4k until the end of the turn, and then you retire them. This is why I particularly don't like this Stride unit, and this is exactly what Min said in his analysis of that. The problem is that those units have to already be on the field, and then you don't exactly get any pluses from this. This card is going to neg you 2 cards, and that's unfortunate. So his combination with Big Berry is okay, because Big Berry will give them even more power, and will let you draw if a unit's attack in the same column hits. However, you're still going to be minusing yourself a rear guard at the end of the day. So Finishalux, not the best starting off G unit, but that's okay because we have Managarmr to finish things off. First off, Omniscience Dragon Managarmr. Look at him. He's a wolf. He's a wolf dragon thing with omniscience, and he's the first wild dragon card in this game, which is cool because he looks amazing. He looks like the boss G unit of Great Nature. So once per turn, counterblast 1, and you G Persona Blast, which means you flip over a copy of himself. I used to call it Persona Flip, but it's the same thing. But anyway, if the number of face-up cards in your G zone is 2 or more, choose up to 2 of your rear guards. To the end of that turn, they get plus 4k, and they get the Glory Maelstrom skill. Of that, when they attack the Vanguard, if their power is 20k or more, to the end of that turn, your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater cards from their hand to the Guardian Circle. No perfect guards. That is absolutely key, because now you're going to be swinging at your opponent with a 26k at minimum Vanguard that they're probably going to have to waste their perfect guard on, but then you can also boost your rear guards, and you can use this in combination with Big Berry's skill as well, to not only get a ton of power and have the ability to draw more cards, especially if you're using something like Guru Wolf, but now you're limiting your opponent's guarding ability, and that is fantastic. So Managarmr is what caps off this deck. Yes, it was great at utility. Yes, it gets a lot of power. But Managarmr now makes it the threatening meta deck that it needs to be. He is one of the best G units out there, I say, because he has such great synergy with the rest of the deck. So, absolutely love the deck. I think Great Nature is going to really rise to prominence in the next few months. I think it already is in Japan. I haven't looked at any rankings from any tournaments yet, but I have a lot of confidence in this deck. So, thank you again to Min from Vanguard Heroes. I'll put a link to your video and your channel in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. I really can't thank you guys enough for all the support you've given to Team Zenith so far. Well, what used to be Team Zenith, and now the channel is growing and we're getting more content up, and I'm really loving where the G series is going so far. So thank you all again. Remember to always have a great day and keep card fighting. We will see you next time. Goodbye.